change of plans. I wanted to do the pathfinding one, but then I'm like, I haven't done that for 2 weeks because I've been busy. I'll have to look at the code again, and I just want to finish one of them because I have 3 ongoing at the time. The Pokemon one will take ages to complete, whereas this one is pretty much, well, it's the furthest one that's been progressed. So I'd like to work on that one first. I did some off-screen code for that one because I was unhappy with how some mechanics are, and I didn't want to spend hours polishing individual bits. So let me just have a look at my little notes I made for everything that I changed. There we go. Let me just drag it to the side. So yeah, where are we? So this is what we have so far. We have a very simple system that loads in, we can move. So the biggest changes is, of course, I reworked the player script. To make it easier, I looked at various different ways in which I could do the movement, and ultimately I found this very cool GitHub example of how to do it by I think Brackeys, was it? Yeah, and he has basically what he basically did was he converted the character controller into a component into character controller 2D version. It's slightly more restricted, but it does the job. I tweaked it a little bit, not a lot, to fit my need. But yeah, this feels way better as how I wanted the game to feel. So firstly, we can do a small jump by tapping the key, or a big jump by holding it. The physics are quite wild. You can keep holding space, or you can tap. It doesn't matter. Secondly, I added animation to the blocks. As you can see, they go up. It looks a little bit more like in the original game. I also had to do some collision changes to the game. So let me just show you how that was done. So if you go into physics 2D, I changed the collision matrix a little bit because I didn't want some collisions to happen. So what blocks player from going left shouldn't really block the enemies. Enemies shouldn't. Well, I don't know if they should collide with each other. I'm not sure about that yet. That's like a 50-50, and of course the enemy shouldn't collide with the power-ups either, but the player should. So I just disabled some of these in the matrices to make it work as I wanted it to. So I've just mentioned this, We have a different type of a material called a physics material. I'm not going to go into it, but basically how you create one is, why are these out here? Hello? Why can't I not? Okay, let's forget about that. If you go into here, you have physics material right here, and that's essentially what I did. I did no changes to it. I just reset all the values to 0. Yeah, we have a little particle effect, which I took from the other series that we did, which was the tower defense. And that's what you see when the block breaks. The enemies and power-ups now fall in, because before they just kept going in a diagonal because of the physics, but I just disabled that entirely, so they fall down, I guess, like they would have done in the original, to an extent. I added slight collision on top as well, so we don't overshoot. I mainly added this so that when we go for the flag, we can overshoot and then never trigger the end. And I've cleaned up a lot of the code, so it's ready for today's session. But yeah, so that's basically what we have so far. What I kind of want to add now is the flag element where we win the game. So what I'll do here is when we touch the flag, the player will no longer have any movement whatsoever, and then the flag will automatically make the player move from this point to another point over like a second or so. Actually, there is one problem with this mushroom in here. Why is it going to the left, not to the right? Mr. Mushroom, what's wrong with you? There we go, it's better now. It's funny because that should be right, but it's left. Okay, it doesn't matter. So yeah, let's work on the flag script. So if we go into our scripts, I believe the flag should be in here. And C# loading. Okay, so let's get rid of that. So essentially all we need to do is a way to control the player as well as move, I guess, do the entire lerping process. I believe I just used, I believe I have a good example of lerping here. So for the blocks going up and down, we'll essentially just duplicate this process but in here. So for firstly, let's just do our on trigger enter 2D, and then we'll check for our player. If collision dot is a player, are we set as a player? I don't know. Where are we? Yeah, we are. Okay, so let's just debug dot log this out first. Hello. Oh, by the way, there's no collision between the enemy. They can't. They just push us around for now. There is no way to dive it essentially. Boom, boom. You can actually bump them. Oh, I wanted to bump him. Whatever. Okay, so there we go. Oh, didn't happen. Did we set our flag as the trigger? We probably, I mean, we still have, oh, we still have 3D colliders on them. Okay, so that has to go. Remove, remove, and here, let's just do a 2D box collider. No, show me the collision target. Make it like this, like this. I think in Mario the flag goes down. I'm such a terrible person to be doing this. I didn't actually play the game. Um, I guess this is my interpretation of how I think Mario works. Um, okay, let's go. Oh, let's bump him. Ah, they didn't hold it. There you go. He goes off like this. It's surprisingly more fun than I expected it to be. Oh, the block didn't reset. Oh, because I fell. That's right, and the enemy got stuck. I need to add the sliding bounce to our enemy so they don't get stuck. So there we go. We do get a hello. Let's click on our enemy now and quickly go into the capsule collider. Not this one here, the small one. And we're just going to add our slippery material here. That's because this one's on trigger anyway, so this passes through everything regardless. And now that we know that the flag triggers, what we have to do is we have to store the player. So let's just get a private game object. Actually, let's just get the script attached to the player, which is the player movement. I probably should show the code I actually did instead of showing how it works in the game. So let's just quickly go over any big changes to the code. None of these were touched. These were touched. This was not touched. So block interaction, firstly, it now inherits from a new class called destroy block, and destroy block essentially just pulls an effect. If we use it, this gets triggered when the player hits it. And then on disable, we just stop the coroutine, and the coroutine that gets triggered in the block is this one. So what we do here is first we take our start and end position. So that's where we want the block to end. This is where it is when before the impact, well, when the impact happens. And then if it's a destructible, we want to pop a particle effect. Otherwise, we skip this don't do anything. Now, then we have a time, how long. So this is how long our block will go up or down on for, which is very short amount of time. And then we just lerp between, basically we do this for like a fraction of a second. Then so we basically move it between our start and end position. Then I just adjust it so we are 100% at the end position. No, so we are not like 0.999 off or something. Then we reset the elapsed time, because at this point elapsed time is already greater than or higher than, well, or equal to wait time. And we replicate the entire process, but in reverse. So we put the end process first, and then we put the start position here. This could be technically a function on its own, but it doesn't matter. And then if it's destructible, we just disable that block. So that's these two. Now that I think about it, we have our, where are we? Somewhere we have the block, but we also have the coin, right? For the flower. So the flower has the flower controller, and so does this, but they don't need the flower controller. They can just have the coin, and the flower controller can be removed essentially. So if we just put in the coin script here, and we just give them more points. So I guess every mushroom is going to be set to like 100, and then the flower can be 150 points extra. Let's update the question marks, and that means that this guy is going to go in the wrong way again, but that's fine for now. Actually, no, he should still go the same way. Okay, so what's the difference now? Now we interact with the coin when the player interacts with it rather than the flower. That means that the flower script is completely unnecessary. Is that exactly what our thingy other script is doing? Yeah, let's give this a go now. So let's try collecting our new object. Yeah, it disappears and it gives us more points, which is what it actually should have done from the start. Just killed myself. Okay, so now that we have our player movement, what we're essentially just going to do is we're going to assign it. So our player movement is going to be equal to the character that just collided with it. Or we can just grab the character from the start. Nah, let's just grab it on the collision. Maybe we'll never complete that level, so we don't have to do that check. Is equal to collision.transform.getComponent. And that's going to be our player movement, like so. And what we want to do is we want to halt the player from moving. Oh yeah, I was showing the script. Oh my god, I can't. What's it called? Yeah, so this is the script I found from that tutorial. I will actually set a link to it so you guys can check it out if you're interested. That's actually another thing that I would like to point out. When you prototype your own projects, don't waste time on doing little mechanics. Make a rough copy, how I did with the movement first, and then later on experiment on making it better. Because you don't want to keep reinventing the wheel. You want to get as much done as possible to have something to show. That's the most important part of developing. The more progress you have, the better. If it's buggy, if there's bits that don't feel right, they can be polished later on. But having a solid base is the most important part. That being said, it does feel great when it moves. So this is just essentially using the script that I just showed to make everything move. So we just take our input, we set and that's it. There is nothing to the script right now. We will be expanding this in a second when we move on to the flag, actually. And for our enemy controller, I slightly expanded that. So firstly, what do we have? I added a collider. Well, I started drawing a collision to the ground from both ways, so we get a more accurate collision check before we start falling. We now have grounded, so it prevents us from moving while we are falling with this check here. And aside from that, it's the same. Oh, sorry, I woke up recently, like an hour ago. Still a bit tired. For utility, so our activator script. So in Mario, enemies don't move until you actually see them first time around. So let me show you how this works. So when we start the game, we see that this guy's moving. But if I'm just going to go into scene move, oh, this guy is moving now too. I guess our activator script is not working as it should. Or is it because I looked at it? Okay. Well, Where are we? Are you moving? Oh, so they're not. Okay, that's fine. So as we see now, we have two other enemies. None of them are moving, right? And as I approach him, there you go. He started moving. The script has triggered on now. That's because they will not move until we see them with a camera. I get for some. Why is the scene move also triggering it? That's so weird. I never expected the scene. I guess it's because we were rendering it with the scene view. But the reason why I added this is because actually, what happens if an enemy falls off an edge? I don't know if I coded in a way for the enemy to disappear when they collide with the box collision. Let's just give this a quick try. Yeah, we did. Okay, that's fine then. Yeah, so what this does is it takes a renderer. So this is the most important part of it. It has to have a renderer component. This was quite problematic because I usually make an empty game object without the renderer and then I put the renderers inside. But I just made this a serializable field and I dragged it in manually. And then I picked the script that I want to disable, which is our enemy controller. And then what I do is I just invoke repeating. So what that does is I basically every half a second I check, run this function, and that just checks if we see the renderer. If we don't see the renderer, then we don't disable it. If we do, then we do, and we just stop invoking so we don't have to consume more memory and space. So that would be that. And there we go. Polling, this no need to go over it. This just pulls an object and particle. I have a little particle control which disables the particle properly, so that when we enable it, we don't start midway through the particle, and we always start from the beginning of the particle sequence. Okay, so now that we have this, we get our player controller, and what we want to do is we essentially just want to disable all of our. Wait, what do we want to call? So let's try it this way, because I think I'll have to access actually the player controller rather than the player movement. Although I can just do this and get access to both of them. I might need to be setting things as well. So what I'll do is I'll create a boolean here, private bool can move, and I'm gonna set it to false. And then we'll just do actually can move is equal to true. Where are we? So it'll always be true by default, but when we reach the end, that's when we will disable it, and that will be the only time within the game when it's going to be set to that. In fact, on enable, we'll just set it to true, and we can just do it like this to take less space because it's just a one-liner, and we don't want it here. We want it next to wake instead, like this. There we go. So for anyone who's wondering, this little thing is the same as just putting the brackets, but if you're just going to use one line, you're better off just takes less space. It's optional. It doesn't. You don't have to do it this way. Okay, so then we'll do. All right, player movement. Let's just make a new function: public void stop movement, and we'll just do There is actually no need to make the other one stop movement like so. So what I'll do here is there's actually no need for this anymore, because we'll just control everything through the player once this is done. I didn't set it up at all, did I? So can move is equal to false. So what this will do is, well, you'll see in a second. Oh, so much fun to just bonk them. Yep. Okay, so I do this. Oh, okay, so we do stop moving now. I can't have zero control over me. But what we actually have to do is we have to freeze all of its basically freeze all of its I lost English. Freeze all of its movement at all completely. So this is where we will have to use our little this script here. And what we're gonna do is we just firstly let's actually set our input controller. Let's see what this is going to. So well, this will pass through a 0. That means that we are not passing any input to move. But we might have to just use the rigid body to completely pause the movement. I'm going to see in a minute. I feel like there should be a little bit more here, so it's good enough. Okay, so we are sliding. We are sliding because of the material that we have attached. Let me just play around with the character and see what we can do to completely disable the... Yeah, because he keeps sliding as we have that material in the rigid body. Wait. This just makes me think I didn't add it to the rigid body, and the other one that I added somewhere else. Yeah. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to freeze the position completely. So I'll just do that. Oh, rigid is the rigid body now accessible? Where's the rigid body? There we go, like this, and we will leave this as get set, and we'll just do rigid body dot. What's it called? Its position. Can I not freeze position? Okay. This might need a quick Google. Oh, so it's rigid body dot constraints dot. How do I? That's how you do it. Well, I actually didn't know that. Thank you for. So let's see what's going to happen now. We kind of. I actually should have just frozen the X. Freeze position X like this, so we can then jump on top and it's just going to slide us down. Also, the flagpole is. I kind of just want to add this here. I just want to make some slight changes to the pole. Oh, I just made it smaller. Yeah, that's fine. And this collider is going to be changed so it's more accurate to what it is. Like this. I don't know if the game gives you more points if you collide with it. See daisy at a higher point. Maybe, maybe not. I could do that. That's not. Okay, it's too far anyway. What happened there? So funny. He just flipped over. Where are we? Where's the player? Oh, why would the Z unfreeze itself? And why is This is so weird. So you can freeze the position. Okay, there we go. That should work better. That was such a funny thing. We're definitely going to add the coin script to it, though. Yeah, this needs to be moved slightly closer. Oh. Where are we? This block. And the flagpole. Or am I just trying to make it in a weird way? Rather than freezing the positions, I'm just going to set can move to false. And I'm just going to force the movement of the player. Actually, all of these blocks here, they don't really... The entire pyramid doesn't need collision. In fact, it's in my way if it does have collision. So what I'm going to do is I'll disable the collision for these guys. And I'm going to unpack them. Where are we? Boom, boom. Not all of them. That would be too much. But at least the ones that matter. So firstly, unpack. And secondly, you guys don't need any collision at all. Okay, that's fine. Actually, didn't think I wanted to do it from the start. Plop, plop, plop. Okay, let's check this out now. Oh, it's funny because the player goes behind them. Which he shouldn't really. They should be in front. So let's actually move them out to create the illusion that the player is the one that's actually in front of it, even though it makes no difference. Why is it not letting me? I just want to move them. Okay. Let's set something that'll be the same across all of them. So let's just do something like 0.5. 0.5. Okay, let's move these guys as well. 0.5. It's okay, because once the first level is fully done, we will just copy these things across and we'll never have to do it again. So it looks really off here, but in reality, you're not going to see it when we actually play the game. What do we have? So winning condition and losing animation. Oh, I'll try to finish that all in an hour. I still need breakfast too. Okay, so now we just scoop, which is fine. Like this, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a collision, an invisible collider here. So let's just duplicate this, like so. And make it bigger, like this. And I'm gonna just remove the mesh. We don't need a mesh for that. Enable the collision. Is trigger. Where is the collider? And just gonna zero it. Okay, so what's gonna happen with this collider is we're just gonna call it the end game collision. And this has to be moved somewhere so it's easier to track. Actually, we can just slap it inside the flag. I know it's a weird one, but there you go. At least they're connected. So I can reuse this later on. So what this will essentially do is this will just load in our next level. For now, I guess we can have one script that will change the next level here and change the next level here. So let's create a interaction script and let's call this warp, like so. As for the flag, we also want to add the coin script to it. I should have named them better. And I guess the flag will just give us 500 for completing the level. It's just a random value. I wonder if we can actually cheat moving. So what I'm also going to do is I will actually start a coroutine, private IE, or we can force movement of player forward as soon as they collide with the flag so they can't change it, which is a better solution. So what we'll actually do here is else you'll just make the player only go forward without our control. So I'll just do 1 time, this time delta time. So we'll just keep moving straight at a set distance. So what we have here stops the player from having any control of the mean player movement. Like this. That might actually not be as... Okay, so now that we have this, we create the warp, right? So the warp will... Where are we? Where is our level manager? We need to kind of have some kind of a string for the next level to load. So each warp that can level load will have a name of the level that we can load into. It will also use using Unity engine dot scene management to be able to load the scene. And then we'll have a on trigger enter to D. And we're just going to do scene management dot load scene, and we will call it, and we'll just use the level name to load the scene based on its level. Very simple. So name of the level to load using warp, and then loads the next level. Let's just create a copy of this level, but call it something else and see how that's going to work. So in here, all I'm going to do is change this to 1, 2, like here. And now let's go back to our original level. Click on our flag. Where are we? So we're just going to put in the warp script, and for the level, we're going to put level 1, 2. Should work. Let's give this a try. Actually, did I do the thing that I was talking about? Yeah, I did. I disabled the flag? Why did I disable the flag? Oh, because it has the coin script attached to it. Let's just add a new flag. Where are we? This is not flag. still have 25 minutes to do the def. I think the def is going to be... Nah, we'll not have time to do the def animation, will we? He's awfully slow. Which is a problem. Okay. Can I just... Ah, there you go. This way we're going to move as we should. Now I wish the level was shorter. Pum, 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 pum. There you go. And boom. Of course, the scene is not added, but we know it works. This is a perfect error. That means that the entire system here works fine. We can load in the next level. Actually, let's just do this anyway. Let's load in the next level anyway, because I just want to make sure what we're doing is correct. Boom, boom. Okay. Ooh. So we did load. There'll have to be some kind of a delay and animation between. So we kept... Where did we keep the... Oh, we didn't update the points properly on new level load, which is interesting. So how do we load the points initially? Because we had the done destroy on load, so that section was done in properly. It's just that it showed us 100 points, which is what shows us by default regardless. That means that this doesn't get called every single time we move a scene, and I don't know which one does. Awake will definitely get called every time. So let's put this in awake instead and see how that's going to change if we complete the level. Okay, so I have to falsify the jump anyway. There's no way I had 0 points. There you go. Okay, this is interesting. We're not loading in the points appropriately. Okay, so firstly, let's fix the jumping to false. Secondly, if you go into the game manager, why are we not loading the UIs? We're not going to run it here. We're not going to run this in the game manager. We're going to run it on the start of this guy, of the each level. Which... Where's UI manager? Where are you? We have to run both of these in here on the start. But we of course don't have any of these, but that's fine because game manager is an instance, so we'll just do game manager instance help. Nope. So we have to have these aside as well. Yep, that's fine. Not want to set it. And finally, Same thing for points, really. So we're just gonna have health, and we'll have game manager .instance.max. No, not gonna let us do that, is it? Why am I doing it even like that? It's constant. It doesn't matter. Can I not? Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Oh, whatever. We're just gonna put 3. I mean, the game will have 3 health regardless. That doesn't change ever. Okay. 20. Bloop. Go away. Okay, there we go. We did carry over everything as we intended. So that is fixed. And that's great. Bloop. And the flag just disappeared. Why would? Oh, that's because I copied the flag to the second scene before we made a change to that one. And that's exactly why I just want to have one level that we can work on for now. So we can perfect everything that we need before we move on to the building of the next level. And with this done, we can actually do the exact same thing for the warping, or not. We actually don't. We don't do untrigger enter, we do something entirely different. So we could have just named this something else, to be honest. Whatever. Just gonna call the second one warp hole then. Warp hole. Like this. And I'll just add it to one of them. This one to be specific. What's gonna happen is we'll just draw a raycast down. If the raycast down is of a specific tag, we will allow it to move. So let's just add a new tag, call it warp, like this. And we will only add it to certain cylinders, not to all of them. So we will need to have 2 separate cylinders done. Let's unpack that one. So this is going to be, where are we? The first one is going to be called warp cylinder. And this is just a basic cylinder. So let's just unpack both of them for now. So I can both work on them in a bit. Okay, let's do a mini break. I'm going to have food. I'll come back and I will actually just do the lose animation afterwards. And we'll do the warping next.